Good morning, afternoon, and good night, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Risers and Fallers, a very special time for the show, I must say. This is a watershed moment in Risers and Fallers history. We have an ex-host, we have the new host, and we've got me right here in the middle. Our boy Pete's with us today. Pete, how we doing?
I'm doing well. You technically are not in the middle, though. I'm in the middle. So just wanted to make sure we clarified that real quick. But doing well. Good to be back.
Always got to alpha me in some way, Pete. That's never gone away. As you've gone off and your podcasting star has started to shine bright, you continue to come back and dump on me within 30 seconds of the show, really. So that's impressive. I'm sure the viewers out there are going to love that. I want to shout out StreamYard for fixing whatever this issue is with Twitter broadcast. It's playing live from all of our platforms with no issues. So I appreciate that to the best of its abilities. Evan, how we doing today, my guy? You ready to get in some wish list action?
Doing great as always. Happy that the combine is coming up tomorrow. I'm really hoping that Pete is the ex-host here and not me, because I didn't hear anything about that.
Well, I mean, I'm a few tweets away from being an ex-host on all platforms. So depending on how things end up going for this offseason, if it's any indication, it's going to be a bumpy ride. The people are ready for it. We're going to have a good time. The comments are showing up already. We got a little Pardusky in the house said, if Kirk Cousins went back to Minnesota, would they make a portion of the guaranteed monies back in Dockers and plaid shirts? What do you guys think about that?
Well, I mean, he probably has some sort of sponsorship or partnership with one of these dad t-shirt companies, probably more Men's Warehouse, I would think, but Dockers is a good guess.
I was thinking TJ Maxx potentially.
He did some commercials in this last year because he wasn't playing a whole lot. I'm trying to remember who it was for. I know he's a big Great Clips guy.
Yes,
Great Clips, KFC. It's just hard to imagine Kirk Cousins being like the avatar for Minnesota with all the chicanery that's going on right now, for lack of a better word. But you know what? God bless him. That would be fun. And maybe that's a little bit of tease to some of our wish list stuff today. Tootsie wants the Vikings to be not such losers. I feel you, Rachel. The Vikings are a big hinge team this offseason. Jamie's back, always showing some good love. And of course, the Player Profiler crew is on as well. So guys, we're doing NFL wish list today. Pretty self-explanatory, but there's a lot of ways we could go. Like you said, Evan, the combine's coming up, draft, free agency, surprise cuts, what have you. Pete, the guest of honor today, I'm going to kick it to you first. What is going to be your top of the wish list item?
Yeah, I have a really spicy one that I'm going to leave for last, kind of get you guys warmed up here. But my number one wish is Travis Etienne to the Kansas City Chiefs. There's been a little bit of steam, a little bit of talk about it, and I'd love to see it happen. You have Eric Bieniemy making his way back to the Kansas City Chiefs. That run game has struggled a lot over the last 2 years, we'll say. I like Isaiah Pacheco. I think he was a nice find for them, but I look at him similar to Kyle Monangai. I think both are actually Rutgers guys, ironically. But I look at similar where it's like, hey, you found money in your pocket with this late round draft pick at running back, but you might need to bring in a little bit of juice and a little bit of a difference maker. And I think Kansas City's offense has really been missing that. You had DeAndre Swift, who kind of had a bounce back season, 14.3 points per game last year in fantasy, 16th in fantasy. And that run game for the Bears looked really good. A nice 1-2 punch. And I'd like to see them get under center more. So I think Travis Etienne would be a really, really nice landing spot for the Kansas City Chiefs.
I really like that because I have an honorable mention for one of my picks today, and it did involve the Chiefs and what the Chiefs would have to do for me to not put them on my do not draft list for basically all of their players right now and all their ADPs. Mahomes is okay; he's in that early teens, but for the most part, I just continue to be disgusted with how they approach team building. But Travis Etienne would definitely pull me out of that because their run game last year, despite the trudge that it was, 7th in EPA per rush with the ghost of Kareem and Pacheco, as you mentioned. Evan, how do you feel about that one?
Yeah, actually, I had a pretty similar one. But I think this just kind of speaks to how bad the Kansas City roster is right now, because you could also say that they really need to bolster their offensive line and their defensive line too. But my next one was getting Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon, or Jordan Tyson, one of the top 3 receivers to Kansas City, which would just be an awesome landing spot for any of them, of course. And, we got 1 year without the Chiefs, and now this entire show has become Chiefs pilled again.
Well, he brings up a good point here as well. To sign a Chief, they'd have to clear some cap. So I've seen the projected ranges for an ETN contract could be anywhere from like 2 years, 16 million to like 3 years, 34 million. So the Chiefs would have to do a little bit of that. They are currently 3 million under the cap and 10 million in effective cap space, but we all know the cap's not real. I think that it's really easy a lot of times to be like, I wish this team would do that, but they're at the point they've had like 3 off seasons in a row where they've been that team and they haven't done it. I think this might be the year that we start to see those wins shift a little bit. And I think that those are both great picks for both positions.
Well, and I would say too, Juwan Taylor, $27 million cap hit next year. Dead cap is $7 million. They could cut him and save 20. I know it sounds drastic for a team that's offensive line is terrible to be cutting big time players, but Taylor hasn't really fit there. He's been pretty bad. And then you also look at Chris Jones. He's got a cap at a $44 million. I doubt that stays the same, whether they restructure or do some sort of extension to lower that AAV. So I would expect that. And then lastly, I mean, you look at Jalen Moore, he's making 18 million. This is the guy that they signed last year, who was like a journeyman offensive lineman. I never understood why they spent so much money on him. So there's some maneuvering that they can do to open up the cap a little bit.
Yeah, and I really like the ETN fit in particular. I think that really works because he's not a super explosive guy, but he's going to get the yards blocked in front of him, and that's what the Chiefs have really wanted throughout the Mahomes tenures. Just a reliable guy that gets the yards in front of him and can catch the ball out of the backfield as well. They don't need a ton of explosiveness, just a reliable guy that can do a little more than Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco did last year.
Yeah, I could see him being a big time floor raiser there. So let's get to Evan. Do you want to kind of expand on yours anymore before we move on to what mine are going to end up looking like clown picks compared to your guys? So I'm stalling as much as I can.
Yeah. So the Chiefs and like in the Mahomes era, they've never really had a legitimate awesome receiver. Like I guess you would say Tyreek Hill, but I don't know. He was just kind of run really fast down the field. They've never had like a legit X. So I would really like to see them get either Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson in particular on the outside. But, there's also other free agents that could be interesting there. They really need to add to that receiver room with the recent, Rashee Rice news. It looks like he'll probably play this year, but they could certainly use a young stud receiver. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think Tyson Lemon would probably be the least likely fit just because he's really more of that Z receiver that can move around the formation, and they kind of have that a little bit with I mean Rice does operate in the middle of the field a lot. He plays on the outside too, but they have the speedy guy in Worthy who can use in a gadgety way as well. So I think Tate and Tyson make more sense. And I think Tyson would be the better fit only because I don't know, like we've seen it with Mahomes, and I don't know if it's just lack of connection with the guys he's thrown to, but Tate reminds you of a better guy for the deep ball and a bigger body receiver. And Mahomes just maybe he hasn't had that, so we haven't really been able to see it on full display. We saw it a little bit with Hopkins, whereas Tyson has a nice blend of both where he can be used on the inside and he can be used on the outside really effectively. And he doesn't have to be that burner down the field. So I think that would work well with Mahomes.
Is this a team that's rebuilding?
When you put it like that,
the interesting part about this is that I agree with everything you just said, especially the genesis of that, which is they need a true X because they basically have 3 slot receivers, and that's just not going to cut it right now. But at the same time, what does a rookie wide receiver do for the 2026 Chiefs? Now, this is a broad conversation. We're not just encompassing what we want to see for the players on the field this year. That's why I like the combo. But how would that impact how you guys would view the offense, view the ADPs, and maybe like the improvements this team could make for the next year?
Yeah, I think you're right. This is kind of a rebuilding team, even though, they'll always be somewhat contending when they have Mahomes, but coming off of an ACL, this roster is in the worst shape it's ever been in. So if there ever was a time to rebuild, it would certainly be now.
Yeah, I think I think they have to come to grips that this offensive line, they've tried to patch it together, and it just hasn't really worked. Trading Tooney, moving and bringing in Taylor. They thought they were making a splash signing there to shore that up. It didn't work. Trey Smith's been nice. Obviously, they have Creed Humphreys. They have some younger guys, Josh Simmons. But I think ultimately they lost in the trenches last year. I mean, they had no pass rush. George Karlaftis, was their big ticket player that they gave a big extension to, and he really didn't get to the quarterback. He got pressures there, but he didn't get there. Chris Jones slowing down a little bit. He's still very effective. Don't get me wrong, but I think their best usage of their capital is probably in the trenches. As much as we as fantasy guys would love to see them add another weapon, we've seen them go at Xavier Worthy, didn't work out. And I just think with Mahomes' injury, they have to make sure that offensive line, or at least some side of the trenches is getting more draft and capital and investment there. So,
yeah, it's a big hinge team that can go a lot of different ways, but they've got some serious moves that need to be made. And the chat brings up one more good thing here that somebody posted on Twitter. So let's shout it out. What happens if they just take Jeremiah Love at 9 if he's still available?
I think that would be a bad pick. I think pretty much, Jeremiah Love is going to go in the top 15. There's not a clear fit out there. The teams that are most mentioned are the Chiefs and the Saints. I think both would be a massive mistake. Every team in the top 15 really needs to address the trenches or other premium positions like receiver or cornerback. And taking a running back in the top 15, I love Jeremiah Love, but it just doesn't really make sense for any of these teams that are probably going to end up taking him, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you there. I mean, yeah.
All right, let's talk about a position that is fascinating to me for this year, and this will be my pick. And I tried to come up with a sexy name, but just none of them were like, it was like I was trying too hard or caffeine wasn't hitting right. And I just want, my wish list is tight end consistency for 2026. Now, to do this, let's look at the ADPs for tight end in 2025. 3 of the top 4 are still rock solid going into this year. You got Bowers, McBride, Laporta, varying levels, of course, but I think solid. The rest are gone. All right. Kelsey, he's gone from tight end 5 to tight end 22. Kittle, 3 to 15. Hawkinson, 6 to 19. Andrews, 6 to 18. Evan Ingram, your boy Pete, tight end 8 to tight end 34. And Njoku from tight end 9 to tight end 24. And that's all from our Rabbit ADP right now. Now, I know it's early. ADPs come and go. They change. But I think we can probably all agree that right now, all of those feel accurate, deserved, well-earned. Well, who's going to replace these guys? All right. Loveland's coming in. Electric down the stretch, but that was with no Roma Dunze, and they still have DJ Moore. Fannon's coming in. Historic tight end season, but new scheme, new QB maybe. Maybe they add some new weapons. Tyler Warren, what happens at quarterback? We saw the dramatic fall off when they went to Phillip Rivers. Kyle Pitts, great scheme, probably the guy I feel the best about. But once again, who's the quarterback for this team early on? Tucker Kraft, another great pick, but injury recovery. Dalton Kincaid, is he even good? And then Oronde Gadsden, we all know what he can do, but will the offensive line allow him to do so? Guys, what are we going to do with this tight end position coming up?
I think we're in a whole new era for the tight end position, and you're going to get exactly what you want. I mean, we have such an influx of young talent over the last few years, and especially last year's draft class with Warren, Loveland, Fannin, and Gadsden, all being fantasy difference makers, at least at points last year, and that they'll all be going in like the top 8 to 10 ADP at the position. So I think you're just going to get exactly what you asked for, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm on the other side of it, man. Like I've always been a very large proponent of I just don't draft tight ends very high. And when you look at last year, and you just look at like the fantasy points per game, there was a pretty substantial drop off from Trey McBride. I mean, McBride at 18.58. I think it was an outlier. I love Trey McBride. I was advocating to draft him over Bowers if you were going to take one of these big 3 tight ends with him, Kittle, and Bowers. But 18.58 is kind of unrealistic because they threw the ball 50 times a game. We don't even know who the quarterback's going to be. It's a new system, all of that. Kittle obviously takes a step back, but when you look at it, I mean, Dallas Goedert had 12.34 fantasy points, and he was the tight end 6 last year. This guy was barely drafted. You keep going down. Harold Fannin Jr., right? This guy was not drafted very high. Kyle Pitts, not drafted high. Tucker Kraft, not drafted high. Like those 3 guys, Tucker Kraft, Kyle Pitts, and Dallas Goedert, were all drafted in the top 6 tight ends. And those guys had ADPs past 100. And then you look at Sam Laporta, he was a bust. Travis Kelce was a bust. So I just, and I think the big point here is more of the difference in points per game that you're getting is just not high enough to take the risk of drafting a tight end high. So that's always what my mindset's been. I'm with Evan in that I think teams are going to run heavier personnel. And so we're going to see more tight ends on the field, and that wide receiver 2 that was successful for fantasy, a lot of that production is going to filter into being that tight end 1 on a team outside the wide receiver 1. I think we're seeing a little bit of a funnel of points going that way because of the personnel on the field. But I just, man, I still just can't get behind some of these. Like Colson Loveland is tight end 3, and he's a top like 40 pick. And I love Loveland, but the risk is too strong to be taking a tight end that high that like you said, Chuck, popped when Odunze was down. There were some injuries, and I think he's a great athlete. He's going to be good in this offense, but I just can't get behind some of the prices.
Yeah, the middle class, for whatever you have to say about in America, the middle class in tight end position is booming right now. And that doesn't even talk about like your annoying friend who's like, I only drafted Jake Ferguson at tight end 16, or like Brenton Strange is down there. Juwan Johnson, if the Saints don't do anything dramatic at the wide receiver position, Juwan Johnson, Colby Parkinson. I mean, just like guys who had such moments last year. Yes, all of them. There's a big. I mean, we could get like, what if Eric All like pops? You know, there's just like random, like I just, not that any of those or all of those even are as likely to happen as one or the other, but I just completely agree that I don't know how quickly this group is going to step up and take the baton.
Yeah, I'm totally with Pete that we should not be drafting these middle round tight ends. They're traditionally just very bad bets. But that middle class is booming, as Chuck mentioned, for sure.
Yeah.
So I think, depending on how you look at it, the consistency at the tight end position, I think in some ways it should be a lot better in terms of looking at ADP over the next few years. It should look a lot better. But you still probably shouldn't draft these guys.
And even like our boys, you know, like this will be Brock Bowers' 3rd play caller in 3 years. McBride, he could be having Malik Willis throwing passes. I mean, there's just all kinds of, what's the opposite of exciting? I guess just depressing, pessimistic scenarios that could be happening to this position. And whoever emerges as the champion could be the league winner of this next year.
Well, and let me ask you, like, who's to say Oronde Gadsden at 95 on his ADP, you know, new play caller, Mike McDaniels, we've seen them utilize the tight end very well when he was, you know, when they had a tight end, right? Like, who's to say that a guy like him, why does Oronde Gadsden, why is he ADP 95, but we look at, you know, some of these other tight ends, like take Colson Loveland, for example. And I think Loveland's more talented and he has the pedigree for the draft capital, but at the same time, he's in a more crowded offense. I mean, DJ Moore, we have so like the ADP is every Bears player right now, not named Rome Odunze, feels like it's baking in DJ Moore is just gone. Because like, and then people are going to be really upset if he's not gone. And you'll be getting a really nice discount on DJ Moore. I mean, I guess you're probably getting a good discount on him either way because he could go to a better situation and get more opportunities. But I just feel like the Bears, man, this is going to be another offseason with us just arguing about their ADPs.
No, you're on the right show if you want to go, why is Gadsden here and this other guy is there? Because we're big. What do we have a term for what Gadsden stands are? You know, I'm not too versed in whatever the ethnicity of his name is, but if anybody in the chat can help us out, maybe get something going, because we got fans. Jamie's out there shouting it out. Did Arthur Smith break the NFL? It's possible. Maybe not football wise, maybe just mentally. It's the toxic group thing that I always think about. with
Arthur Smith is so underrated. Just
We
gotta
love
get that out there.
This is
Arthur Smith is
pro
good.
Gadsden, pro
I agree.
Smith. We love all the big dogs around here.
Hey, Jonnu Smith ended up actually being good, and everybody hated
Yep.
Arthur
Yes.
Smith for it.
I know. It's like, does anybody love consistency anymore? That's the whole point of this segment. And few offensive play callers have been as consistent as our boy.
And
Arthur
I have
Smith.
I got one more
Yes.
name I want to say.
Yes.
I got one more name too, though. Hunter Henry, pick 139. I mean,
Absolutely.
what's to say that Hunter Henry, but this is why I just can't get behind drafting tight ends. Hunter Henry gets another year in an offense where he was featured. Okay, we have no idea. They've shown us no progress that they're going to bring in a big dog at wide receiver there.
Yeah.
And he's tied to an offense that had the runner-up at MVP, and they have a good connection. And he's picked 140 behind in front of Mark Andrews one spot. Andrews, I think I can't make a strong case for him right now, but I do love him. I would love to see
And I got a couple more for you going outside the top 150. We got Isaiah Likely, who's a free agent and could go to an awesome situation potentially.
We're cooking right now.
Terrence Ferguson, who was drafted in the second round by Sean McVay last year and should be getting a much bigger role this year. So the position is just so deep, and this upcoming draft class is also quite good for the tight end position as well. There's a lot of pass catchers in there.
Hey, don't sleep on my boy Kobe Parkinson too, man.
Yes,
I love
sir.
Terrence Ferguson, but there's a lot of points in that McVay offense. I think I read something that said if you took all of the fantasy points for the Rams offense at tight end, it'd be tight end 1, I think, or it was something absurd. So there's a lot of McVay loves the tight end position and getting the ball to it too. So
what would you guys say if the Houston Texans bolstered their offensive line to the best of their abilities and didn't add any major weapons, and you went into the 2026 fantasy season with Dalton Schultz as your tight end 1?
That works.
I'd be fine with that.
He averaged 10 points a game in PPR last year, which is right there with Juwan, basically Tyler Warren, Kincaid. There's just a lot of there's a tight end for all of you out there.
Listen. The last thing I'll say about tight ends is people that want to draft tight ends high are people that don't want the headache or the risk of waiver wiring and streaming tight ends all year. And it's a skill gap. It's a skill gap. You know, people just want to set it and forget it. They don't want to worry, who am I going to pick up for my tight end this week? And honestly, it's just like defense and stuff and streaming like that. Like there's edges, like you just got to go find them.
And it has not been a good few years for that, really, to be honest. I mean, last year, too, if you took a guy, any of those guys, I mean, look at all the guys we talked about. You know, I'm sure a lot of people's strategy was, you know what, Mark Andrews, he's been consistent. I'll take him. And then that happened.
I loved Mark. I loved him, too. Laporta was bad, too.
Yeah, everybody had a rough go. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to get to a lot more of our NFL wish lists.
Rookie draft season is now, and you know that because on Fast Draft, we have the Origins Tournament. That's right, the first, way too early, all-rookie tournament is live. There's a $10,000 prize pool. Start practicing for your rookie drafts and leverage your knowledge of rookies by winning cash. And given that it's close to 50% full, if not already well beyond 50% full, a lot of those drafts included players that actually did not come out. So every draft that happens from here until this thing fills, you're getting positive EV. So go to fastdraft.app, get the app, and sign up with your host promo code for a $50 deposit match, or use code FAST. Fast Draft is the next hot fantasy game, so get out there and start drafting faster.
My offseason wish list includes all of you all signing up with that promo code Chuck right beneath me, get that deposit match, and start taking money from all of your favorite player profiler fast draft creators. Now let's move into our next one right here. Pete, what do you got next for us?
Yeah, this one might be a little deflating, but I would like to see Kirk Cousins go to the Jets. I think a lot of people would like for them to. Here's what I'm concerned of. They'll go draft a guy like Ty Simpson. He'll be tied to them for like 2 years, 3 years, and Garrett Wilson continues to just erode and not hit that full potential. We've seen Kirk Cousins be able to be very good for his number 1 wide receiver in fantasy his entire career. And he looked okay down the stretch. I think people forget, you know, it took Rodgers some time. It took now Cousins some time to get back from that torn Achilles, and they're much older players. that offensive line for the Jets is young. I mean, they've put a lot of draft capital and investment there. And I think another year growing. And people also have to remember Aaron Glenn is a lame duck head coach right now. I mean, I do not see a world, unless he's concocted in his mind, that if he drafts Ty Simpson or say Garrett Nussmeier, he's going to get an extra year. They're not like, unless he for some reason feels confident that he'll get another year if he drafts a rookie. I just don't see them doing it. And I don't think they're going to go spend the money on Malik Willis. It seems like Willis is destined for the Cardinals or he's destined for Miami, unless the Jets come out and overpay. And after what we saw them do with Fields last year, I don't see them doing that again this year. I think Cousins makes sense, especially if they can hold up. The biggest concern is he's old. He can't move like he used to. And even when he could move, it wasn't very good. But if that Jets offensive line, if they believe in what they've developed and drafted there, if they can take a step forward and get healthy, Elijah Vera Tucker can get back on the field and stay on the field. I think they have a good shot to give some good protection if he is there. And let's be honest, outside of Mac Jones, I don't really see any quarterback coming in that's going to elevate this passing game. Cousins is the only guy I see. And I could see Cousins signing a 1-year fully guaranteed contract, the way he does things, look really good, and then maybe try to get one last 2-year deal after this somewhere else on a contender. So I would like to see it for Garrett Wilson's sake. And we know he peppers his wide receiver 1, and I just want to see that offense look competent with a quarterback. And I know we've done the whole Aaron Rodgers thing, and now we're coming back to Kirk, but the truth is they should have kept Rodgers. I mean, they really should have. And they didn't. And so I think Aaron Glenn's going to make a desperate move. And I think a veteran like Cousins makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Evan, this is a team we've talked about a lot, I feel like, in the last 6 weeks or so, because of the potential they have with some of the moves they've made. They've done a great job rebuilding this offensive line. They have 4 picks in the top 44 this year with some of those trades that they got rid of on the defensive end. Number 2 overall, 16, 33. And they have the 4th most cap space. And Pete, you really alluded to probably the most important thing. They have a coach that's going to get fired if they don't win like 4 of their first 7 games, maybe 8 games. So who can you turn to in this market right now? It's not a good quarterback draft. Who else is out there that can captain a team at least for 10 games, 12 games, 13 games? It probably is Kirk Cousins. So Evan, how do you like that fit? Do you think it's realistic? Where does this fit in?
I absolutely love this. I don't care about like the leadership qualities or, the veteran mentality he'll bring to the team. All I care about is that he's going to throw the ball to Garrett Wilson about 200 times, which would be incredible for fantasy football. Although I will say that Kirk Cousins in a Jets uniform, that is a cursed image. That is an image I do not want to see. But I absolutely love this call out. Something that I hadn't even thought about, but it is perfect for our fantasy football teams. That's for sure.
I would say Kyler Murray could be a possibility as well, but I don't want to see Kyler go there for fantasy purposes.
That's even more of a cursed image.
But I honestly think that would be it's either him, Kyler, or Mac Jones. And I don't think they're going to give up the draft capital to get Mac Jones, which is probably at least a 2nd rounder.
So how do you guys view Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall if they just use all these picks on every other position and just run Justin Fields back?
Oh, God.
That's the kind of emotion you can't fake.
Garrett Wilson's going as wide receiver 16 in the Rabbit right now. If Justin Fields was their starting quarterback, I think I wouldn't draft him until like wide receiver 30.
That's fair. That's fair. But a lot of people did allude they do have that college connection. A lot of people were really excited about that.
Yeah.
Don't forget about the fact that Justin Fields is a pretty bad quarterback. They still had a good college connection. So maybe they can run it back and it'll work out. There's
just not another option out there. They're not going to bring Geno Smith back. I don't think this is a Malik Willis team. And with the Kirk Cousins news, at what point do you start aiming for floor over ceiling? Because this is a team that time and time again has looked like they've gone ceiling, when in reality, I think this is a job-saving year for a lot of people in this organization.
Yeah, I think the smart move for them would probably just be to roll out Justin Fields for 17 games because it's all about 2027 at this point. Yeah. And, everybody in the chat knows that I am a little Jets curious at this point. And that's a 2027 take. So
Yes.
if you punt 2026 to save 2027, I would be on board with that as well.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, Evan, what do you got next for us?
We've had a lot of DJ Moore talk already, so let's just dive deeper into it. My number one thing I wanted to see happen this offseason is DJ Moore traded to one of these four teams: the Bills, 49ers, Patriots, or Chiefs.
Yeah.
And this is twofold. It opens up Rome Odunze, Colson Loveland, and Luther Burden as great fantasy options, and suddenly their ADPs actually look okay. It restores DJ Moore to his rightful status as a wide receiver 2 in fantasy. He's certainly good enough to be that, but is trapped in, it's a good situation, but there's just too many mouths to feed. And then it also makes a fantasy relevant quarterback significantly better, either Josh Allen, Brock Purdy, Drake May, or Patrick Mahomes.
What incentive is there for the Bears to move on from DJ Moore when they were as close to winning the Super Bowl as they were? Is it just building for a dynasty? Is it smart team management? Or what would you think would be the impetus for them to pull the trigger on that?
Fantasy football.
Pete, you back that up?
I have been a strong proponent of pushing back on the DJ Moore stuff. I feel like we've been doing this for 2 years now, where Rome Odunze comes in, the new flashy toy. Everybody's super excited about him. Now nobody gives a shit about Rome Odunze anymore. Now it's Luther Burden. It's his time. Let's get, first it was let's get Keenan Allen out of here. Now it's let's get DJ Moore out of here. And to me, why I don't know. Teams, it's kind of like in Dynasty, right? Where you are a team and it's Superflex League and you've got 3 starting quarterbacks, and you have that one buddy who decided to punt the quarterback position. He's got a ton of great skill players. Justin Jefferson in the first round. He's got T. Higgins in the second round. He got CM drafted Baker Mayfield in the 4th, and then he's got like Michael Penix as his QB2 or Anthony Richardson. And they're just like, well, you've got 3 quarterbacks. Why not just trade one to me? I don't see the Bears doing it unless they really can't figure out their cap situation. And I think they can. When I looked at it, Edwards, their linebacker is set. They think they can clear upwards of 12, 13 million if they moved off of him. There are some restructures that they can make to get some more cap space, and they need help on the defense side of the ball. So unless you're telling me it's a trade where, hey, they can move him for a defensive player, like an edge, obviously the Crosby thing's not happening. I don't expect that. And unless the Bears were going to cough up extra draft capital, but I don't think they're in the business of doing that right now. Poles likes his draft picks. So yeah, I think it'd be fun for DJ Moore. I think selfishly we all would love that. I just don't think it's going to happen. And that's why I haven't been drafting some of these guys as high, because I think you're not even getting a discount on the room being crowded. You're getting, hey, this is what we all expect. DJ Moore's gone. That interception that Caleb threw, everyone's bitching and moaning about DJ Moore not running in that playoff game. And I watch it and I keep watching it. And I've watched so many times and I'm just yeah, DJ Moore maybe could have done a little bit more, but he was never getting to that football. It was a bad throw regardless by Caleb. He was never going to get there. But everybody hates DJ Moore so much, and they run with the narrative that he's a dog. I've never heard anything bad about DJ Moore outside of fantasy guys. And outside of, yes, there was 1 or 2 reports where in the beginning of camp last year, Ben Johnson was kind of they had a conversation and it wasn't an issue. DJ Moore had probably his least productive season in the NFL this year statistically, and he didn't say a word this year. But everybody seems to think this guy's an issue, a drama queen, not a good locker room guy. And I don't get where it comes from outside of maybe he's taking a couple of plays off. It happens. I get it. I don't love that either, but I don't know, man. I think the narrative around him is just a little overblown.
Yeah. I'm definitely with you on the fantasy perspective of not drafting these guys until we see a big move. I would say that the reason they might actually trade DJ Moore is just the cap. It's a brutal contract. They're paying him $28.5 million this year. And last year he only had 680 receiving yards in 17 games. Like that's just a giant overpay for the production that they're getting. So that would be the main motivation to me. But also, he's not a Ben Johnson guy. Like he was brought in the year before Ben Johnson came here. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of my perspective on it. And then also DJ Moore, there's a chance that he wants to put up more than 700 receiving yards next year and wants a chance at getting another big contract after this one. So it seems to me that from a financial perspective, you could make a case that both DJ Moore could want out just to have a chance at making more money in the future. Because if he stays in this situation, he's just gonna peter out his career, and it's just gonna be pretty ugly.
Yeah, and this year that he's on right now is fully guaranteed, but it really is kind of like if you were going to manipulate the factors for the teams that not only have the cap space but need a receiver of, let's say, his quality or his tier. Titans, Raiders, Chargers, honestly, Jets, Commanders, your Seahawks, Evan, all these are the top 6 teams in cap space and could all probably use a DJ Moore. Now that is a big contract to eat, but the factors are there for this to happen.
Well, he's got a $35 million dead cap hit. So I mean, a team's gonna have to guarantee him money as soon as they trade for him if they want to ease that burden. And he's probably looking for an extension. So you're also factoring the team that trades for him is probably going to need to extend him in some sort of way. And you look at it, Montez Sweat, $25 million cap at only $8 million dead cap. He was not good this year. You also have Tremaine Edmonds, like we talked about, $17 million cap at $2 million in dead. They say $15 million if they move him. So there's a lot of movable deals. And Cole Kmet, $11 million cap hit, dead cap hits $3 million. They could save almost 10 by just moving off him. So there's a lot of moves that they can do. I totally get that the point though. I just don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah. It's going to be a big talking point. So everybody, I hope you're not tired of DJ Moore trade talk, because I mean, no matter what this team does all the way up and through the trade deadline of 2026, this will be one of the big sticking points. So we'll try not to ad nauseum you guys with all that, but it is a fascinating one to look at. All right, here. My next one is going to be another also uncreatively named one. And I just want the baton to be handed to the 2025 RB class. How that shakes out, I'm not sure what it's going to be, what that even means. And from an action item standpoint, I can't tell you. But when you look at the 2025 RB landscape, we're going to end up losing what feels like an entire round's worth of early to mid RBs. I mean, you're saying goodbye to guys like Kamara, Connor, Chuba, Mixon, Montgomery, Pacheco, Aaron Jones, and then to a lesser extent, guys like Tony Pollard, Tyrone Tracy, Jordan Mason, Zach Charbonnet. All those guys went anywhere from RB 15 to RB 30 last year, RB 35. And now a lot of them are going anywhere from like rounds 8 to 14. And so last year's class has pretty much exclusively been tasked to fill these gaps. You've got Genty at RB8, Hampton at RB7, Henderson at RB19, Scadaboo RB20, RJ Harvey at 22, one of Evan's favorite players, Judkins at RB26, Manungai at RB29, Tootin at RB30. That's 33% of the top 30. And I don't even really know how good I feel about all of these guys for varying reasons. And then that's not even, you can even have more fun when you get into guys like Woody Marks at RB35, JCM 42, Caleb Johnson, RB54. I just don't, it's making me look and feel worse and worse at the position. So I want to see these teams be like, this is our guy. We're going to build around him. Am I on base here?
Well, the 2025 running back class should see an uptick this year just because the 2026 class is so bad. So I think by default, you will be correct here for sure. But I also agree with you that like looking through the names, I still love the draft class, but everyone kind of has their warts except for Hampton at the top and probably Genty. We'll see. The offensive line, you can still make an argument there for sure.
Yeah.
That's a little skeptical. But then you have Trevion Henderson. We don't even know if he's the running back one there, and he's being drafted at pick 40 overall. RJ Harvey, should I even talk about it? He's a satellite back being drafted RB 49 just because they haven't signed another running back yet. Judkins could be a good pick at 77. Scatabo might be a good pick. Monongai at 86. That's a bad pick. Tootin at 87 could be a good pick, but they're going to bring in somebody else, I believe.
Yep.
So it's a tricky situation where there's a lot of guys that are in like are they the RB1 or are they the team RB2? And it's tough to parse all that out right now. But I think for the most part, a lot of these guys are actually bad picks at ADP right now.
Pete, you concur?
Yeah. In some ways, yeah. This is the ultimate reason as to why, like, I don't draft tight ends high. I'm trying to get running backs early in the draft this year.
Yeah.
There is just a massive drop off at the position, and the truth is, I mean, it's a lot of guessing. I mean, it's a lot of wish casting. It's a lot of, okay, I like this player, but how does he get from this to this, right? Like, take RJ Harvey, for example. You talked about him. I love RJ Harvey. I know he was not very effective in between the tackles, hoping for him to get better at that. But the truth is, like you said, they are going to bring more competition in. And so that's going to affect him. Now, he did pop really well, but that was when he was alone. I don't think this team is going to sit on their hands and not bring in a veteran this draft class. Well, in this free agent class. I look at some of these guys like Javonte Williams kind of starts to kind of poke out as a nice value at RB23. I'd rather take a chance on him, over a guy like RJ Harvey, a guy like DeAndre Swift, who's losing Eric Bieniemy and had a nice bounce back here, but can he sustain that? You have Scatabo, who's going 10 picks. So it's just a lot of question marks, man. And the RB dead zone is pretty gross this year right now. Now this could change though. I mean, I like Jordarian Price in this rookie draft class. I'd love to see him land in a good spot. I think he can be a 3-down back. Emmett Johnson is a nice leaving back, I think, and for fantasy purposes, he'll be very good. So this can change very quickly. But I think the point is, I'm drafting a lot of these rookies from this year that are being drafted in the Rabbit that are pretty late, because I don't really see how they're much far off outside of we don't know their landing spot than a lot of those guys that go in the middle rounds, that we kind of talked about.
Yeah, I think this comes down to just so many backfields are split nowadays, and all of these running backs, young running backs that we have hope for right now, most of them are just going to decrease in value because they're going to bring in more competition, and pretty much all of these situations are going to be split, unfortunately.
Yeah, you brought up a good term that I think is going to be how I look at a lot of these guys in the offseason, Evan, and that's warts. And I think in terms of just everybody has them, there's really not any clear-cut guys that don't have these other than, and I mean, that extends all the way across the board, even at the top. So, like you're going to have guys in amazing positions, but they're coming back from injury, like Hampton and Scatabo. You got volume monsters like Genty, Judkins, but kind of questions around, that front they're running behind. And then overqualified Robbins like Henderson, Monongai, Tootin. I mean, maybe even underqualified depending on how their coaches feel about them. And then it's like your alternative is that you have to invest in like the oldest guys that have ever played the damn position or the most carries that anybody's ever had in a single season, things like that with your McCaffreys and your Henrys. And there's just a lot of uncertainty. And I think that's been a big theme of my picks today is it feels like a big landmine draft board going into this year.
Yeah, kind of how I'm starting to think about this is maybe this is kind of just more of like a studs and duds year at running back, where we should be drafting them early and then just kind of avoid them until you can get good values past pick 100 with those rookies that you mentioned, Pete, and plenty of other exciting guys down there as well. J.K. Dobbins, David Montgomery, Dylan Sampson, Kenneth Gainwell, even because he's probably going back to Pittsburgh with Aaron Rodgers. Trey Benson. There's so many good values that I think a studs and duds approach to running back this year is probably going to be a good move.
What do we do when Tyler Algier signs for 2 years, $20 million with one of these teams that we already feel like we had figured out,
Get him to Denver, please.
I'm looking at RJ Harvey right now. That's so funny. I'm like, who is going to sign Tyler Algier?
Be a great fit thing. It wouldn't even be the worst thing in the world for Harvey. I just think like we have to
Right.
price Harvey at what he truly is. Like it's okay if he's a satellite back. Alvin Kamara, and he's not Alvin Kamara, but just because of the system, Alvin Kamara has never rushed for 1,000 yards under in Sean Payton's system. So like it's okay. Like they've always used 2 split backs. Like it's just if you can complement Harvey that way, like I think it actually makes it better than force feeding him. And Harvey's going to continue to be a weapon in the red zone. I think that we know they get very creative with him. So at least we know that there will be touchdown equity there. It's just a matter of, you know, if they bring in somebody that can eat into his receiving work, which would be a little worrisome.
I'll throw one more in here. And this is just kind of like a wish casting one. Where do you guys want to see Rico Dowdle?
Ooh.
You're allowed to say nowhere if you want. Okay, Houston. Nice.
I'll take Houston.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, then I can retire the Woody Marks bit. Might be in danger there. All right, we're 46 minutes in here, so let's more or less speed run our last picks here, so we can take enough time with each of them. So, Pete, what's going to be your last wish list item?
I would like to see Rashee Rice get suspended. Give me a full year suspension.
Nice.
Like just take the headache away from drafting him. Just get a suspension out of here like really early in this offseason. So we don't have to keep hearing people say, well, he's a value in round 5 right now because, you know, we haven't heard this is like, I don't even want to be tricked into it anymore. I don't want to hear it. I just let him be somebody else's problem. And I'd be curious. I think it'd be really fun to see what Kansas City, how they figure out the next move with him. Because after this year, he's an unrestricted free agent. Do they re-sign him with all these issues? And honestly, a suspension might force them to actually bring in a playmaker that would maybe be an upgrade from him and Xavier Worthy. So I'd love to see a suspension come down soon. I know it sounds harsh. I know it sounds kind of like mean to say, but I would love to see it just so the headache goes away and we can just move on with this guy.
No, this has been one of the most nauseating storylines going on 2 years now, and I would co-sign this all damn day. Evan, I feel like your laugh.
No, this is the third off season. Third. This will be our third off season. I'm pretty sure.
I actually don't think this is harsh enough. I mean, honestly, this guy should be in prison, for being honest. With all this shit he's done. And this would be awesome just to get it out of the way so we don't have to talk about it anymore. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not happening. He's most likely just going to play this full season is kind of how it's looking to me right now. I wish it wasn't that way, but unfortunately, that is how it's looking.
Well, you know, because as soon as, you know, that first game that he drops 35 points, all you're going to hear about is how good of a value he was. And right now he's going wide receiver 13. He's sandwiched in between McMillan and T. Higgins. And I'm with you. We just talked for 20 minutes about landmines and warts and studs and duds. And like, I just want him completely out of my life for a brief period of time. And then we can reevaluate all the circumstances after that.
Did you say McMillan? Is Tet a top 12 guy?
Wide receiver 12 right now, baby. He's flying up the ranks.
I love me some Tet. You know that, Chuck, from last year. 12 seems pretty freaking high, man.
It was frustrating to see him have such a good season, but you know what? You're right on the money. And I mean, we just hope the development is linear. He's going just ahead of Nico, just ahead of Olave. But I mean, there's just a lot of, not to segue this, but you look at the wide receiver position and it is the same thing as we just talked about with running back and tight end, man. It is a who's who of what the hell is happening.
I love me some Tet. I'll pass on wide receiver 12, man. Not in an offense, not in an offense that's likely not top 10, maybe not even top 15.
Yeah, right behind him is T. Higgins and AJ Brown. Give me those pretty easily. Like 2 rounds later is Emeka Egbuka. Way better pick. Just take Emeka Egbuka.
I mean, I think it's just going to end up just me being like circling Jalen Coker's ADP in every draft and just end up seeing, because I think I have to like, is this going to be the offseason where I walk back all of my extremely anti-Bryce Young takes that have been very inappropriate at times? He really showed me some stuff. And he was a terrible fantasy quarterback last year, but he was able to get some supporting cast stuff going. Evan, let's move on to yours here. What do you have for your last wish list item?
Yeah, we got to talk about Mike Evans. I think he's got at least one good year left, in my opinion, as long as he can stay healthy. Of course, we have seen the injuries start to pile up the last couple of years. But if we could get him to, first of all, let's get him out of Tampa Bay to open up Emeka Egbuka and Chris Godwin as potential stud fantasy receivers. I think both of them have giant upside cases without Evans in the picture there, and get him to one of those 4 teams I mentioned with DJ Moore: Bills, 49ers, Patriots, Chiefs. Those are all awesome situations for Evans to potentially end up. You elevate one of those good offenses to potentially great status, and Evans can thrive while Egbuka and Godwin also thrive.
This one is a mixed bag for me as well because he's going at wide receiver 35 in between Michael Wilson and Courtland Sutton. And how much of that is anticipation for him moving on versus he's older? We don't know what he's going to be, what role he's going to have with the team. I think we all believe he can still do a Mike Evans impersonation on the right team. But I mean, Pete, is this somebody you're circling for draft boards?
When DK Metcalf's going almost 20 spots ahead of him, I'll take Mike Evans every time. I'm fine with it. Yeah, I'm fine with Evans. I mean, you could take a chance on Wilson. I like Wilson too, but we don't know what that offense looks like. I get maybe people are baking in Evans. Maybe it honestly could just be the uncertainty of where he's going to go. But I'll take him. I'll take Evans even over Jalen Waddle. I have no confidence that Miami offense is going to look really good with Nate Hackett there, with a defensive-minded head coach, with no quarterback right now. I like Mike Evans at 74. I think that's a good price. Wide receiver.
Yeah, he's fallen like 4 rounds from last year, and I think that's just injury risk. Like that's kind of the only argument I can make. It seems a little far. I'm not arguing for him as like a great pick or anything, but if we get him out of Tampa Bay, I really want it for Emeka Egbuka. That's my main reasoning.
And even if he stays in Tampa Bay, I'd be fine with for him. Egbuka, I'd be frustrated.
Yeah.
For him though, I wouldn't be like, damn, I took him at pick 74. He's staying in Tampa. I'd be like, that's fine with me.
Yeah, he seems like a guy who has a lot of good options on the table. I'll shout out our chat on the Twitter again. Real Feel Teal suggested the Patriots as a potential option. I think that makes a lot of sense just from a combination of role, veteran leadership, and kind of a cap space situation. He is, I think you said something that I think, Evan, that not a lot of people express well, is that it's not always like he's a great pick there. It's more like this is who you pick here. And that doesn't always have to be a home run in the later rounds. Like he's going next to basically Parker Washington. Parker Washington's not going to probably win you a league, but that could just be a good solid pick. And I think that's what he'll probably end up being almost regardless of anywhere he goes. Yeah,
another guy I like 7 spots behind him right now is Marvin Harrison Jr., who I've been out on every year of his career so far, but I'm in this year. I would probably take him over Mike Evans potentially. I think it's at least a conversation there. He's an interesting pick around there.
This is always a fun area for wide receivers specifically. Right. Like you look at Chris Olave was being drafted at this area last year. Rome Odunze was. Now, obviously, Rome got hurt, but he started off really good. There's always a lot of value at this spot in the draft for wide receivers.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean he's going 11 spots ahead of DJ Moore. I mean, there's just the range here, and for what people, there's a lot. The speculation is probably driving a lot of this early ADP. But that's why we're podcasting in February. All right. I've got one more here, and this is just going to be, I had 2 that I was deciding between. I couldn't tell which one was as enticing. And I guess I just want to know from you guys whether or not these teams deservedly belong on my do not draft list. Because basically my wish was I want to see some bad decisions made from some front offices this offseason. And I didn't really know how to crystallize that thought. So basically teams I'm flirting with the idea of passing on entirely based on certain decisions that could be made. Vikings, Titans, Jets, Dolphins, Browns, Steelers, and Chiefs. Now, most of those range from not addressing the quarterback position to not addressing the wide receiver. And the Chiefs, I couldn't quite nail down. But of any of those teams, are there any to you guys that you think it would be crazy to have them on a do not draft list? And we'll start with you, Pete.
Go to Evan first. Let me.
Oh, the deferral. Nice.
Yeah,
So we
let
had
me-
Vikings, Jets,
Titans,
Chiefs.
Dolphins, Browns, Steelers, Chiefs.
Okay. I mean, I guess like the craziest one would be Kansas City, but they just don't really have very many fantasy relevant players right now.
Mhm.
So I don't think that one's particularly crazy. I guess it would be Minnesota, just because if they do get a somewhat decent quarterback,
Mhm.
then fading them would just be obviously a huge mistake.
Mhm.
But it seems like they'll probably just roll with McCarthy and some other whatever backup.
Mhm.
I don't really have any huge objections to any of those teams, to be honest.
There, a
Just
lot of
kinda
them
where I'm
are for the most part. There's maybe one guy. There's two studs in here, and it's Jefferson and Achan. And then after that, it's like, do I regret spending
Yeah.
that pick on Metcalf? Do I regret spending
No.
that pick on Jerry Judy, Xavier Worthy? You know, like you
I'll
just look
say
at it and go, that pick didn't kill me, but I wish I had made a different one.
I'll say potentially Tennessee, just because they have draft capital, they have a ton of cap space.
Yeah.
They have an okay offensive line and an exciting young quarterback. So
Mhm.
there is an opportunity to potentially see that become a fantasy relevant situation over the next
Mhm.
couple months. But there's a long way to go as well.
Yeah.
I think inversely, I mean, people seem to like the Browns situation. I mean, Harold Fannin Jr. is tight end 4.
Mhm.
Harold
tough.
Fannin Jr. is tight end 4. I get it. Evan, you might be a fan. Chuck, you might be a fan. I like Harold Fannin Jr. Tight end 4,
Mhm.
top
I'm with you.
65
Yeah.
pick. I just don't think I can do it right now. Until
I would say if Stefanski was still there, regardless of the quarterback
Sure.
situation, I'd feel pretty good about it. Got Todd Monken coming in. I hated what they did with the tight ends in Baltimore. I hated it. And, Njoku's a big piece of this puzzle and what ends up happening to him and where he goes. But for a lot of these guys, the preface of it really is ADP. Like I'm taking Justin Jefferson if he's there in the 3rd round. But right now he is going pick 16, 7th overall. It's just, and that's the picture I want to paint for a lot of these guys that on these teams. It's just a very particularly tough pill to swallow this early.
Yeah, I think specifically on Fannin, the highest I could argue him is like tight end 6, because I think Warren and Pitts have to be ahead of him. And that's just because of the quarterback uncertainty right now. If they do get a competent quarterback in there, then I could maybe justify him at tight end 4, because they most likely will build the offense around Harold Fannin, as they should. But right now, there's just so much risk with that quarterback room as it currently stands.
Yeah, Laporta stares me in the face too a lot, man. I mean, I know he had a
that's
down
fair,
year. I know people are worried about Drew Petzik, but I think Laporta could be
I like
could
that.
end up being a really nice value this year.
Yeah, the Lions will be interesting to see. We've talked about this several times, is what were the circumstances that led to the success for varying players, and are they replicable for 2026? Between, obviously the offensive line struggled with injuries. Jameson Williams broke out, but Jameson Williams broke out when Sam Laporta was not a big factor. So how you look at teams and what players in particular you bet on is going to be a big part of this. And tight end's very good at representing that. I want to ask you guys real quick, just because you just mentioned Kyle Pitts and did make me wonder, could this be a house of cards if this quarterback situation ends up continuing to be the same as it always is for the Falcons? Because they have 3 guys going in the top 6 picks at their position.
Oh, yeah, that is pretty scary when you think about it.
It's kind of like the Raiders. It reminds me of the Raiders, right? It's like last year, I get it. Bowers got hurt, was a big, you got to factor that in. But the Raiders had Bowers and Gentry all going like top 15 last year. And you sat there and said, is this even a top 20 offense? And, I think but I think the difference is Stefanski, I trust him. I trust that team more, the infrastructure more. But man, I mean, I don't even think Penix's going to be ready week 1.
How many teams have we said today? Like, depending on their quarterback.
It feels like
That's
20 is where I feel like where we're at right now.
And
And I
like, there's going to be a handful of teams at least that we are very, very disappointed with who their quarterback is going into week 1. And the Falcons are certainly on that list. If that happens, those ADPs are going to plummet. Or
Well,
they
I
should
think
at least.
I think you look. I think I think it's a good rule of thumb to look at. Like, okay, like bottom 10 offenses, if they have a stud, like take Justin Jefferson, right? Like we might be sitting here and saying, yeah, I don't think the Vikings are going to be a top 20 offense, or let's say 22 because it's 32 teams. Like, but you can still justify saying, yeah, but I still want Justin Jefferson because look at what happened to Chris Olave, right? Bad offense, right? But still, he was very good for fantasy. But when you start multiplying how many guys are in that offense that are good players, like say the Raiders, or now you have Bijan and Drake London, it's like the odds of all three working out is not. So it's really about finding out which guy is the guy not to draft, not which guy is the guy you should draft. Trying to sift out like how does this work out? How does it play out? And then which guy is most likely to get the bad end of the stick in a bad offense. And like, if we're thinking those three, Bijan's, I'm not worried about Bijan. I'm probably most worried about Drake London. And I love Drake London, but until we figure out the quarterback, like Stefanski's been really good for tight ends. So I like that for Kyle Pitts. And I'm thinking London will be fine, but at the current cost of his ADP, what is he going?
Right.
He's going 13th right now. So wide receiver 6. Like, until I know, I wouldn't feel as confident in him at his price. I'm fine with Bijan.
Yeah.
2 guys being in the top 13 with an offense we don't know the quarterback situation at all. I think Bijan's the guy that probably is the one to draft, and London's probably the one that has the most likely chance of not paying off at his cost.
Totally agree.
They have
to say that I like Pitts more than London. It's just the ADPs, and never fade Bijan for sure.
They have their first pick isn't until 48 because they traded their first from this year for a guy that just had the worst domestic violence arrest of the offseason so far.
He's so cooked.
You know what I'm wondering? Is this an Aaron Rodgers team?
No.
Oh, brother.
No, he's
it might be.
You look at like the market projected value for the free agents, and obviously this is a team that we want to see sign one of those guys, right? Like a Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. I hate to say Marcus Mariota because he already did that dance, but it's a new GM. Just somebody in that tier, because I think there's equal chances that Penix is not ready early or he's not himself early. And I think this is a team that they certainly could have won the division last year with good quarterback play. They certainly can win it again this year. Like how sober are they right now versus, after training camp?
All right, my fourth thing on the offseason wish list is I just don't want to see Russell Wilson starting football games.
That's a really good one. Pete, do you have a little, like honorable mention for us before we get out of here?
I'd like to go back to DJ Moore one more time. My wish list, and maybe it's selfish, I think him to Denver would be a great fit. The way, like, him playing in the slot, I think it opens stuff up. I understand for fantasy purposes, it'd be a little bit of a headache, but I think DJ would fit really, really well for Sean Payton. You look at, the way he's used. You look at Michael Thomas, the way he was used. I think he could be used in a similar way as Michael Thomas, that underneath stuff, that short and intermediate. And I think DJ, selfishly, I want him to go to Denver because I'm a Broncos fan. But I also think it'd be a pretty good fit.
I like that.
Or Wan'Dale Robinson. I would like.
I love that. I think that would be a lot of fun. I think they just need somebody that I know is an every down talented player, and can perform a multitude of roles.
A guy that can stay on the field on every snap.
That'd be nice. I don't really have an honorable mention as much as I do a fact that I did while I was pulling this up. So last year, there were 10 players drafted in the first 40 picks that had a new coach or new offensive play caller, and 9 of the 10 did not perform up to ADP. And the only guy that did was JSN. So there's 10 new coaches this year. There are 25 players going in the first 7 rounds from those teams currently. Just keep an eye out. Be safe out there when you're drafting. All right. And that's my little tidbit. All right, guys. Appreciate the hard work and effort in the chat showing up today. Pete, loved having you on. Love to do it again sometime. Why don't you tell the people where they can find you, what you have going on, all the fun stuff.
Yeah, you can find me on the Dynasty Stock Market Show. I will be live tonight at 8 o'clock. As always, gonna have Jeremy Popes on for tonight's show. I got a lot of fun guests coming on the next month or two. And then we do have something in the works at Player Profiler that I think will be announced the next week or so. So keep an eye out for that. A little bit of a tidbit, a little bit of a tease. And I'll be helping out with that project as well. So
I love it. A lot of good work coming from you. Make sure everybody's checking out, liking, subscribing, commenting, all the good stuff. Evan, what about you?
On X at Evan Ringler FF. Then besides that, all my works at playerprofiler.com. We got seasonal rankings coming very soon. We got a bunch of combine data coming very soon. Of course, Fast Draft Origins is live right now. It's currently 80% filled, and those are going to be flying off in the next few days with the combine going on. And there is a lot of expected value to be made in that contest. So go draft in that. And yeah, besides that, you could find me on this YouTube channel.
Good show, guys. I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that Frank thought that as well. Make sure you guys are hitting up all the fast draft all the lobbies, all the good stuff, because if you think you're better at fantasy football than everybody else, and you probably are, now's the time to take advantage of those ADPs. So as always, I am Chuck Bass. We will catch you guys next week. Cheers.